Hello, everybody. My name is Master Chen.
This is Doxy.
Bizarro Doxy.
And Michelle.
And you are either watching or listening to episode 210 of Greynoise. This episode, we're going to be figuring shit out like we always do because we're hackers, or we like to claim to be. Anyway, it is 7:30 p.m. or shortly after, so we are live at the Sin Shop. The address is 1075 American Pacific Drive, Suite C in Henderson, Nevada. We are still the Las Vegas Valley Hackerspace, even though we are in Henderson. That's a technicality. Go to sinshop.org for information on the shop. Go to meetup.com/sinshop, that's SYN. SHOP for information on appointments and classes and things that we do here. And for us as a podcast, go to Greynoise, GREYNOI.SE. Do we have any other announcements for?
I never do.
No, we're good. Okay, so
It's
Doxy,
Friday.
Friday. It is Friday, like any Friday.
Good announcement.
So we have a couple of things going on here. Doxy has returned from being on assignment somewhere.
Honestly.
We have Bizarro Doxy, who has
From another dimension.
yes jumped in and out of existence,
Yeah.
and then we have
It's
Michelle,
also called
which will-
Utah.
Utah, perfect. Oh yeah. So, what do we talk about first? Well, last week we talked about the DEF CON recap generally.
I vote we talk about your talk. I want to hear all about it.
Okay, we could talk about that first, and then we'll talk about Michelle as a guest on the show. So, the talk went well.
What was your talk about?
So the talk, we have hecklers in the audience, people who were witnessing there. The talk was called A URL Shortened by Any Other Name. And what I did was I went to is.gd or isgood as a URL shortener, and we sequentially scraped, I say we collectively, but I sequentially scraped a sample size of URL shortened links to see where they all went to. And then we did I did an analysis on that and then went from there.
Do you explain the attack?
Okay, so yes, I did explain the attack. So the idea is this: a URL shortener is basically a site that takes a really long URL and puts it into something small that you can easily share, on Twitter, on text messages or anything, and you can share it simply. It's easier to remember than a big long URL, and so of course those shortened URLs are really just 301 redirects and HTTP requests, and so I just basically used native Linux tools to scrape that data, like curl requests, and see where they all pointed to. Hint, there was a lot of porn. So particularly with this site, is.gd, all the slug lengths, so it was like is.gd/ and then the URL shortener, right? So the slug was a consistent length, so it was always 6 characters. And so you have uppercase, lowercase, and 0 through 9 as your character set to which they would generate links. Well, a friend of mine, I don't know if he wants to explain, but a friend of mine said, hey, there's like a smaller sample size with URL shortened or word pronounceable words. And word pronounceable is really just B-A-B-A-B-A or A-B-A-B-A-B. So it's just consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, and they consider that to be
so the
word
combinatorial, so if you
Right.
got like vowel, consonant, vowel, right? You've got 5 times 21 times 5 times 21 times 5 times 21. And if you do the math, I mean, you only come out to roughly 6 million possibilities.
Only 6
It was actually only
6
2.3.
2.3 million.
2.3
Okay.
million.
Well,
So
it's
the
close,
entire,
right?
Right. So
it's
the entire
easily
character space-
searchable.
Right.
Let's put it that way.
The entire character space, if we weren't targeting this one particular sample size, is 56 billion
Right.
links. Now, if we take it to just lowercase and numerical, then it was about 26 billion. And then if you take it even further down to the word pronounceable, it's 2.3 million.
And it's all lowercase.
I feel like this should be
Lowercase.
English pronounceable. I know a lot of languages
should
that
be.
use
Well, it is,
lots
like-
of consonants together. They don't need the consonant vowel like we do.
Right, so they alternate vowels and consonants, and
Right.
it was all lowercase.
Now, word pronounceable
And
doesn't mean word. Right?
I'm gonna
No,
out
yeah.
myself as the friend.
Oh.
I
Yes.
um,
It was
Uh-oh,
actually
surprise.
Hughes' idea.
well, just like okay, so to explain how I came across this was I was sharing GDocs links using isgood. And I thought, I was trying to go from my laptop to my phone. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to do the lowercase pronounceable so that I could easily type it into a text message. And then I realized the search space on this one is really small. And I'm sharing a document. I mean, I'm going to actually, maybe get in trouble for this, but I was sharing an internal document for the company I work for, the organization
I probably have it now.
Right. And, well, no, because they get overwritten, right? Because the
don't.
search space is only so big, so there's collisions in there.
Right, but
there has to be collisions.
According to their TOS, they do not overwrite or share, or they don't overwrite the space.
I mean, it wasn't anything sensitive, but it was just like, hey, here's our calendar for October or something like that. But it's technically, an internal document.
That could be considered important information.
We're an open source organization.
Yeah.
Fine. We're going to these conferences. Ooh, big secret. But I know that I'm not the only one that does this.
But you'd be surprised. Like if I was trying to send a social engineering email and I said, hey, I'm out at this conference because I know the boss is out at that conference from that schedule, and hey, send me this money or whatever. And the staff at home now, believes it because they know you're out at the conference. So
Right. No, that makes total sense. So when I realized what was going on, I thought, I'm probably not the only person to do this. And I called Chen, or I talked to Chen when I was here, and I was like, holy
That's my
shit.
question, though. So why did you encourage me to pursue that research instead of doing it yourself?
Because you're the guy who loves to talk at DEF CON, and
That's true.
It's not my thing. It's not my thing. And anytime I come across a cool hack that I think people should know about, I feed it to you because I know you're going to chase it. You think of it as like a hacker reporter. It's like, hey, Chen, here's a really good story. Here's a good hack. You should chase it down, propose it to DEF CON, get on stage, and tell everybody about it.
To be fair, it was definitely... what are you right now? Bizarro Doxy. It was definitely Bizarro Doxy's idea, but I did pursue the research, and so yeah.
Look, I gave you this like there's a lead here. Go find it.
Right. Exactly.
Like there's got to be something here, and you get 99.999% of the credit. All I did was say something stupid while I was drunk. Like, hey, there might be something here.
Let's not do this over Doxy's laptop, though. There we go.
Yeah.
Fight everybody.
You definitely deserve all the credit here, but it was just one of those things where I was like, mathematically, you could easily search this. And I was looking at their terms of service, and their API limits and everything meant that, it would only take, what was it, like a couple days?
So I split the research among 3 computers. Now, the question came up, like, couldn't you just use this with AWS?
You absolutely could, but in the spirit of following their terms of service and not abusing them, like we're trying to be ethical hackers, right?
And so the terms of service said you can only scrape 1 link per second from a particular IP.
Right.
So with 3 computers, all scraping 1 per second, it actually took me 1.5 months or 1.5 months
to do the whole space.
Yeah.
Now, well, it's still interesting.
No, it is.
Right.
Now, some of the statistics are like out of the entire sample size that I took, only about 9% of the links were used. So out of 2.3 billion links, only about 200,000.
Most of them were 404s.
No. There were a lot of bad links and redirects, and those were just URLs that no longer pointed anywhere. Like, let's say the host name went out.
See, I suspect that they...
Google Doc, whatever,
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk to me. What'd you say?
I said you delete the Google Doc, whatever
and
you remove the link,
I suspect they actually expire them.
No, well, that's the thing. So I did look at the TOS, so the terms of service, and they don't expire links, they don't overwrite links. So anything that's expired is just the host name fell off the face of the earth or whatnot.
Just internet weather, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, and now as far as like some of the nature of the stuff that I found, there were S3 buckets, but all the ones that I traversed, they seemed to be protected, so I couldn't like see the contents. They were it was all permission denied for me, which is kind of interesting. There was a pretty decent amount of porn, and so the way I was thinking about this was it was kind of just, I want to say like a front page or like a snippet of internet culture at large.
Okay.
Because there was porn, there was documents, there was pictures, a lot of anime, by the way, if anybody's interested. But the interesting part of the research was that there was a lot of map data that led to specific addresses.
Really?
Which was really cool. But here's another part of the research. There were about 144,000 links that were referenced only one time. But on the reverse side of that, there were about 65, or there was one particular link, which, by the way, was a map address. There was one link that was referenced 65,000 unique times.
Wait, the one address was referenced 65,000
yes,
unique
in the
times?
space, unique times.
And what was this address?
It was
a random location?
It was an address somewhere in Carolina.
Interesting.
Right. So, and the funny thing is,
not in Virginia, town called Quantico.
No. It was in Carolina. But the thing is, it wasn't.
Where in South Carolina?
It was. Here's the thing. It was referencing a block. So Not. It was referencing a block. It was like actually a cul-de-sac. So it wasn't a specific
Interesting.
address, but it was a specific block. It was
It's
a
like a
cul-de-sac.
CIA safe house or something.
I don't know. But what you could do at this point, now I didn't do this yet. But what you could
Giving up
do,
your next talk.
That's a
I
lot of
know.
time. 64,000.
65,000. Yeah,
65,000.
65,000. So
That's a lot.
I will make, of course, the slides available. The talk will be available on YouTube in about 2 months, according to Recon Village. That's where I spoke. It wasn't DEF CON proper. It was the Recon Village.
Sure, yeah. Well, because it fits, right?
Right,
What
it
Recon's
definitely
all
fits.
about
Yeah,
is like
definitely,
trying to
Which, by the way-
analyze your target.
I know I've already sucked their dick enough, but I do love that.
You love sucking.
No. I do love the Village. No.
To each his own, Chen. I'm not judging.
I'm
I'm
saying-
just wondering if you want to share
No,
those
no.
personal details
the Village,
online.
the Village is amazing. Like this is
Yeah.
the second year that I've spoken at that Village, and they are great. It's a small, like more intimate space, so you get to meet all the people.
Right.
And every single time I speak, I say at the beginning of the speech, "Hey, after this, I'm going to this bar for like an extended Q&A, and I will stay there until everybody has answered or asked all their questions." And I've made sure that I've addressed everybody.
How'd that work out for you?
Pretty good. I stayed there for about half an hour.
Wow.
Only half
there's
an hour.
actually, I know. There's
Kinda
only like
sad
3 or
for
4
you.
people who. Wow. You know what's funny? This is
I
your-
wasn't gonna say it.
I
Thanks
know,
for-
right? This is your first episode with us, and you already kind of know how we do this. Basically, Chen is the punching bag. No, but I met somebody who's kind of already doing this research with another URL shortener,
Interesting.
Oh, cool.
and he's presenting at B-Sides, whichever one is in September or closer to the East Coast.
Yeah, isn't that the Boston B-sides Boston or B-sides DC or something like that?
I can't remember, but it is the East Coast.
All right.
We do follow each other on Twitter now, so yeah.
So to put a bow on this, what was your toughest question? Like, what was the most interesting question?
Ooh. So people asked me about onion addresses, of which there were. There were onion addresses. So that was kind of interesting. I can't really. Maybe it's the whiskey, but I can't remember exactly what the craziest question was that was asked to me.
Like, you look taller in real life. How tall are you?
Yeah, there was a little bit of that. I had a lot of hecklers in the front row. Yeah.
A lot more handsomer than we thought.
yeah, exactly. But no, it was a good talk, and actually, well, I was telling you before the show started, I love speaking at DEF CON. I love doing that stuff, and like, it wasn't out of anxiety; it was out of like an excitement to share the data.
Yeah.
But I blew through that presentation in like 15 minutes. And then there were 15 minutes of questions that kind of unraveled the talk a little bit and let me go. Like,
So it was
kept me going.
45 minutes is what you're trying to say.
That's what I was.
Right.
Yeah,
So don't
it-
cut it
so-
short. It was
eventually-
actually 45 minutes
yeah.
total.
Are we doing the postmortem right now? So next year we do an invite-only dry run before you go, so you can get your pacing.
Well, I did too.
He said he did that.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
you
did too. And
but to your friends, like,
yeah, so I did one here at the shop,
Oh,
and
you
then I
did?
did
Okay.
one at my mom's house.
Oh.
No, and
love the
there's-
moms.
There's a philosophy to that too, though, because I don't feel like any family or friend should have to pay to see me speak.
Yeah.
So that's why I throw that event too. But in the first one, it was really rough because I was still putting the slides together. In the second one, though, it was paced, and I did take my time. And for when it came to DEF CON, I was like, "There's a lot of cool fucking information here."
But yeah,
Were you drunk at your house?
Yeah, I was.
You got drunk
But-
for your mom.
Yeah.
The
I was drunk
reasoning-
I was drunk off of scotch, and then at DEF CON, I was drunk off of.
Yeah.
It was Jameson.
I met your
but
mom. I
I've
love her.
done,
She's a lovely lady.
theater and performance my whole life. And doing things in front of someone you don't know is going to be a lot different than doing things in front of people you are comfortable with and you do know.
That is true. You are correct. And I was also in theater and acting as well. I've been speaking for 6 years, and it seems to be different every time. And maybe it's because of the alcohol involved.
Maybe,
I've done
yeah.
this with tequila. I've done this with Jameson. I've done this with Jaeger. It's
I was
different.
there literally when he drank.
So
like,
which one did you drink this time?
It was Jameson.
I
So-
saw him drink like a rocks glass full of tequila once.
It was this much
While
of
he was
tequila.
on
Yeah.
stage.
I was there for
While
that.
I was
And
on stage.
you're exaggerating. It was like a solid 3 fingers.
No,
though.
no. Okay, so it was half this.
Yeah.
It was half this.
Yeah, it was.
But it was
it
tequila.
was-
Come on, you're
It
talking
was a
about
decent
shot.
amount of
Yeah.
tequila. Don't exaggerate.
I remember that one.
Yes.
That was awesome.
Well, it
That
was funny
that was
because
the best because you
that was
barely
Sky Talk.
you staggered off the stage.
Yeah, that was Sky Talk, so like that wasn't recorded. But the funny thing was like I wasn't
Maybe
even
you should have had more alcohol and it would have slowed you down.
maybe.
He would have just passed out. We'd have to drag him.
But it's funny because BGM was like, he asked the question in the middle of my talk on that one. He's like, yeah, I heard that you actually have to finish the shot before you finish the speech. Is that true? And I was like, you motherfucker. So I
Shucks
drank
it.
it down, and like, you could see it like a light switch. It was instantly like sober Chen, drunk Chen, like
Yep.
that instantly. But it made the talk a lot better, I would say.
All right.
Yeah, I think you did pretty good.
So outside of your talk, what was the best part of DEF CON this year?
Okay, so we did cover this last week, but the best part of DEF CON for me was just running into old friends and just meeting new people, or I'm not saying that I'm celebrity status, but I am getting kind of to a point where people are just people passing are like recognizing me. They're like, oh hey, it's Master Chen, and like they
I just want to get your autograph before I leave here.
thanks. No, but I mean, even at B-Sides, I had somebody. I was standing in line at the cafe, ready to go into the cafe, and somebody was all like, "Hey, you're Master Chen, right?" And I was like, "Yeah," and I was like, and
you
they
do
were
it
like,
long enough, people will recognize you.
right.
I saw
And
you
they're
at
like,
B-Sides in the hall, and I was like, oh no.
I was like sitting on the side, but I mean,
She's giving you some serious shit tonight. Casting
know,
a lot
but-
of shade on you.
this is great though because she kind of already knows how the culture is. Just punch Chen in the face and you'll do fine. But I mean, like, I've had people come up and say, hey, that surveillance talk that you did 2 years ago was fucking great. And so I'm starting to get noticed for previous work, which is really cool. So to answer Docky's question, I just like
Your
the networking.
best thing is being noticed.
Yeah, no, not being
Everything
noticed.
is
Just
the attention.
no.
We believe in you, Chen. That's why I
Meeting
feed you
people.
ideas.
Meeting people.
You did
meeting
cool
people.
stuff. Don't be shy about it. That's cool,
Yeah,
man.
no, it's
People
awesome.
know
It's
you.
cool.
That's
Glad you have fangirls
That's
and
cool.
boys. This is why I feed you stuff, because I know it's important to you.
Yeah, dude, that's great. I do appreciate it, and it was a lot of fun. The research was fun. And
Like, I wanted to know the answer, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have the time to do it.
well, the funny thing is, again, I know that I could have done this faster, maybe
Yeah.
with, using Tor or whatever I could have done.
No, I like that you did it ethically.
yeah,
I
but
think it's
yes,
important. I think
did
it's
it-
really important to teach
I
the
did it
kids
paced,
coming up. They
right.
should try to be ethical about this.
So I stayed in the terms of service. I stayed within the rate limits, and it was just cool to watch the thing crunch because I only use native tools, native Linux tools.
Fuck, I feel like we're such sellouts, but I think really to keep the young kids coming up out of jail, we should be like setting an example.
Right.
I mean, because I know that when I was younger, it was like, yeah, fuck it, rules. I don't follow rules, right? But I mean, the world's different now, right?
Yeah, it is definitely. So again, I had a lot of fun. Like I said, it took me about 1.5 months to finish the whole research. But my favorite part before presenting was just watching the computer churn out links. Like come up with numbers and do the number crunching. That was
Okay.
a lot of fun to me.
One last question.
Yeah.
What was the most interesting thing you found? Singular most interesting, like, wow, that's crazy porn, or holy shit, I can't believe someone put that on the internet.
I mean, I kind of expected that kind of stuff, like the porn, the anime, the
course.
pictures. I expected that kind of stuff. What was really cool from an OSINT or from a PII or pen testing point of view was the recon value. So like, I would find a lot of URLs with like URL/username equals, and then there you would get a lot of Gmail addresses.
Sure.
And then password equals. Now the password was like a hash of the password, so I could probably put that through a hash cracker later.
So
I don't know if it was like a session ID, but the point is username enumeration. So now I can see what email address is tied to what service, right? So this email address is associated with whatever, right?
So I've got something for you. Have you tried to test to see what hashing algorithm or whatever algorithm they use to translate a URL into a shortened URL?
I have not yet. I mean,
Because you might be able to divine that, and if you can predict it, then you can do targeted surveillance.
okay,
I doubt you will if they use like a legitimate hashing algorithm and then
Right.
do some
I
like
do-
modulus on the available
Right,
space.
right.
That's going to be really hard to predict. But if there's something that they do dumb, like, hey, we just use this hash algorithm, and then any well-formatted
XOR, yeah.
right, but any like predictably formatted URL, right? Like you could target Gmail addresses. You could target GDoc addresses
So-
because they all tend to be like similar and
Right.
although there's a lot of entropy in GDocs. But if there's anything that's low entropy, like Twitter, for instance, tends to be kind of low entropy, right? You might be able to do some predictive targeting. So anyway,
Right. So I know
maybe there's something there.
right. So I know that the URL shorteners are not generated sequentially.
Well, of course,
Yeah,
they're
right,
they're,
but I
they're
mean, like,
based on they're data driven, right? So they're
Right.
hashing.
So I still have all the data, so I can continue the research where I left off. But for presentation's sake, exactly what I put in the URL shortening.
So what I would do if I were you, I would calculate I would graph out what the URLs were and where they mapped to in the available space to see if there's a pattern. Because then you might be able to predict how they're done, and then you can work it backwards, and then you would say, oh, well, if I'm targeting a target who's doing GDocs or like some predictable thing, GDocs is tough because they got a lot of entropy. They have really long random strings to their documents. But anything that's low entropy, that's a potential target, you'd be able to predict what the URL shortener is or the shortened version of it is. And then if you can even narrow the space down farther, you could have like a real-time kind of a watch to see if anybody in that organization or on that platform has shared a URL through that shortener. Like that would be actionable right?
Yeah. So again, and even in the last slide, I said there's a lot of space left in this research. There's a lot of things to be done. So
it's interesting.
Definitely. Any last comments on this? I'd like to get to.
Don't use URL shorteners.
Yes,
Like,
don't use.
for sharing internal documentation.
Public information, sure, but definitely not internal
Yeah,
shit.
don't be dumb.
All right, so like I said, we do have a guest here today, Michelle. And the reason why I asked you to be on the show is because I know that you are in the information security space, but you didn't start off there.
No, I did not. I definitely was never in the information security IT space before this. I actually am more of a people person. No offense.
Whoa! All
She
right.
just
kidding.
call us
No,
autistic.
There's actually a lot
Or
of,
something, shit.
a lot of great people.
That's
in the
important
space.
too.
I'm a people.
It is. You are a people.
Go ahead. Continue.
And so I definitely got into this looking, as a sales business development job. And shortly after getting into it, I was definitely issued like a tinfoil hat, is what I say, when I got the job.
When you see the paranoia, when you see.
Yeah,
the
no,
reason-
well, because I had to come in and I literally went from, I always was in the SEM part of STEM. I've always been big into science, been big into engineering, big into math. Never kind of really touched the technology side, besides day-to-day use. But definitely not InfoSec, any of that. Started with the job and really kind of had to learn, everything from like starting at the OSI layers, like literally learning, and it's never stopped. Like I've continually learning.
Welcome to technology.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's been exciting. It's been an exciting trip. I obviously get into it. Everybody will tell you in sales, which is what I started at, is that the best thing you can do is to learn what you're selling. And so that was like, I have to be able to talk to people and I have to be able to sound like I know what I'm talking about. So learning, what I would be selling, what we're pen testing, what is OWASP, what is, ASCS.
You want to talk about OWASP? That guy right there.
There we go.
He's gonna.
I have enough OWASP every day. Please
He's
no
one of the
more
OWASP gurus.
Please no more.
Sorry,
Just
off
kidding.
camera, we're pointing to a guy who helped write the standard.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
So did you ever like? I'm guessing you when you were like, let's say, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, you never anticipated being in this industry. No,
definitely not. Definitely no.
Is
No,
this
my
making
brother's
you kind
always
of-
been in IT. My brother.
Okay.
And it was kind of always
And now
his
you're
area.
cooler.
Oh, it's interesting because he'll be asking me for security advice of how to set up his internal network, and I'm like, really?
That must be an
Like-
interesting Thanksgiving conversation.
Yeah, and he's like, it's just so crazy that I can talk shop with you, and I'm like, you need to go back to school, man. Like,
But that's the thing. You really do. When it comes to
Catch up.
Yeah. When you come to technology,
Yeah.
you're forever a student, especially in this industry.
Yeah.
You are forever a student.
That is always true.
Right.
In fact, I just learned a new programming language the other day.
Cool.
And I've been in this industry for almost, jeez.
you learned it all
I'm
in
gonna-
just one day? That's impressive.
No, I learned enough. So
I know, Russ.
no. Like, look, if you've been a programmer for as long as I have, I started when I was like 11.
Okay.
Let's just say it's multiple decades. You learn how to learn
Yeah.
a programming language.
I get that.
Okay,
There's a
so-
whole mentality and everything. I
Right.
can see that.
So, no, I didn't learn it in a day, but I learned how to do enough of it to be dangerous, right? But yeah, it's like
Very cool.
Dangerous.
I'm pretty
Like Darkwing
sure.
Duck.
I'm
One thing
super
I have
dangerous.
learned about developers is they're really good at using Google. So
no, yeah, there's no reason to memorize everything
Yeah,
when
no,
the internet
yeah.
is right there.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And why do it when someone else has done it and everyone's looked at it 100 times and it's not going to be better than that? So
I can't wait for the day that we actually have an AI where I'm just like, I want to write a program that does this, and it just types it out for me.
yeah,
Do you like what you're doing now more than what you did before?
yes,
Why?
yes, because it's interesting. There's something new every day. Like I love it. I've
But
always liked
sales,
learning though.
sales aren't that dynamic.
They are, but it's just a different
Oh, she's
dynamic.
shitting on her past. No.
I still do business development for the company. So that is still my main role for the company is business development. So I am in charge of the proposals. I'm in charge of writing the proposals.
Do you
and-
social engineer the people you sell to?
So that's an interesting thing. I would say that all salespeople social engineer.
Mhm. I
Of
agree.
If they're good
course, it's an
salespeople,
art
yeah.
form,
I
yeah.
agree. I agree.
And it was actually interesting. We actually are, our company is offering physical penetration testing. Social engineering is part of the physical penetration testing, in connection with digital penetration testing. So it's all around InfoSec. So we're not just physical penetration just to see how the locks are, the door fitments, but actually to see what information we can get to. Because we want to bring it all the way back to always back to the InfoSec. And it's interesting as I learn more and more how much I've always like kind of been in that mindset. So growing up, the other day was funny. We now one way to bypass alarms on doors when you're going through, you have like a little sensor that can tell if there's a magnet on the inside, and you can put a magnet up there.
Would that detector be another magnet?
And it's like basically like a little compass.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So basically, like
to
a
see if it's a
magnet,
magnetic triggered.
Yeah.
MacGyver,
Yeah.
bitches.
Yeah. So, and you would put a magnet up to it, and that stops the alarm from going off
Sure.
when you go in the door. So I remember memories back from when I was like 14, sneaking out of the house at night, 14, 15, by putting magnets during the day, because my house had,
The magnetic.
it would beep whenever the door would open or a window would open. So I would put a magnet on my window, and I figured that out during the day, didn't like think about it. And I would do that. That's how I would sneak out at night and go to my friend across the street and hang out with her, was by putting a magnet there.
You were a hacker before you knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were.
I
So,
social engineered people my whole life. My brothers, they were like the best training for social engineering.
There you go.
I think that's true for a lot of us, that we were hackers before we knew it.
Yeah.
It-
And
it-
I think I know me and Chen have talked about this. It's all about the mindset. It's like,
Right.
when you were faced with a problem, how do you respond to it?
Right.
So-
And I've always felt that being a hacker was like the symptom of an overactive curiosity.
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah,
They would
definitely
call it
curiosity.
ADD or ADHD now.
Well, no, I think it's just like asking questions. It's like the why game, right?
Yeah,
if you
why?
were that 5-year-old
Why?
that to your parents, like, why? And your parents are like,
Exactly.
all right, we're done asking questions. Then
Because I said so.
Exactly, right?
So to piggyback off of what Doxy was saying, you like what you're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see yourself doing more of the pen testing than the sales? I mean, I know that you're doing that for the company, but are you drifting towards one than the other now?
So sales, unfortunately, working for a company, sales is always important. So if we don't have the sales, we don't have the pen testing. So
You just need to hire your replacement.
So that's true. So I mean, I'm doing more business development leadership. So I'll probably still be managing people's sales, in charge of that. I still like to do the customer relation. I really like to work with the clients,
Yeah.
get the proposals, keep the communication there, make sure they understand the proposals. That's a lot of it. Is with our company, we really pride ourselves on being able to explain the business risks of what happens. Like, okay, yeah, so we can do this, but what does that mean to your company? What could an attacker do with that? What would be the losses? What would be the risk there? Because a lot of people, even though it's a technical position, they don't always see the technical risks or the business risks associated with it.
Right.
People are just not paranoid enough, honestly.
That's true. I mean,
They don't realize what the real risk is. And I think what a lot of it, maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can validate this, but I think people don't anticipate why anybody would ever want to break into their company.
that's true. And that's actually a lot of things that people get is like, well, why? Why me? Well, because you're easier than the person next to you.
Exactly.
That's why.
Right? Most of these kinds of break-ins are opportunity.
Yeah.
Right?
For home, everything. Yeah. Curiosity,
Boredom.
yeah. Just to see if they can.
Right.
So how long have you been in your new role?
So, new role, probably about 4 to 5 months.
Wait, what did you say?
I was gonna say, I think I know what you're asking, but I can talk about that
Why?
afterwards. No, I'm just
No, it was what I said to you before about
Right.
about burnout.
Yeah, that's when I
okay.
really started getting into really into the social engineering aspect, the physical penetration
So you said
testing.
4 years?
No,
she said
4 to
4
5
months.
months.
Oh,
Yeah.
Chen was talking. I couldn't hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's
It
my
happens.
fault. I'm sorry. It's my fault.
Usually is.
If you hold him, I'll punch him in the
Yeah.
face.
Afterwards.
You don't have to hold me to punch me in the face.
Sorry. So 4 months and then you got into all
more
the
fun.
stuff.
Yeah.
The pen testing.
Yeah. So I've been, I really got into. I mean, lock picking isn't big part of physical penetration testing, but I like doing it. It's just like another challenge, and so I started getting into that. Really getting good at. It doesn't hurt to have this skill, but 9 times out of 10, if you have to pick a lock, it's not as efficient as other ways to do it. And if it's hard to pick a lock, it's not like an easy lock that you could rake, then they're probably doing okay on that side of security anyway. So, but you'd be surprised, in general, how people do locks and door fitment and things like that. Other ways to bypass. Social engineering is an easy way to, get into places you're not supposed to be. For some reason, people trust me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Not
shouldn't.
to put
Don't trust
a
anyone.
cold towel on you, but like most people just trust people.
People, yeah, that's true.
Which is
They
wrong.
do. I agree. You
Don't
shouldn't trust anyone.
any motherfucker.
Well, no, but have like a rock solid verification system.
Yeah, no, I get
Right?
it.
Yeah,
Like-
trust
like,
but verify.
yes.
That's
I was gonna say,
exactly
wait,
it.
Like, I mean, if you cyber stalk me, and you try to gain my confidence, I'll know exactly
And I
why
think-
that you're cyber stalking me, because I lie constantly on the internet.
Don't you love fishing, Magic Dave? No, but now I know who the fuck you are.
Exactly.
So that's actually something that we talk to people. Is like there's a way to have good customer service, but verify what they're saying to you. The customer, yes, I understand in customer service, the customer is always right, but you can still say, okay, you're right, thank you so much. I would love to help you with that. I have to call my manager real quick and verify this, or whatever the case may be.
Right. There's no
And that's
reason to
there's
not be polite.
Yeah. And a lot of people, especially in customer service roles, and that's actually something that I've been doing a lot of thinking and research into, is how people in general are trained to respond to social engineering in certain ways. People who have like mathematic engineering backgrounds are a lot more likely to be suspicious. People who have the arts backgrounds, who are taught to follow your heart. How do you feel about this? Make decisions based on your feelings, are a lot more susceptible to social engineering. And then people in customer service roles are a lot more susceptible because they've been taught whatever it takes, make them happy. And that you can prey upon that. And then emotional response to women. Personally, me crying gets people to do a lot of things because it's a woman and they feel bad.
You're
This is
evil!
I know I am evil. People tell me this. When people find out the
No,
things
it's
I've
fucking
done.
No, I'm joking. That is fucking brilliant. I am dropping an F-bomb on that one. That is brilliant.
Yeah.
I just want to infiltrate your company.
Yeah, I mean, and actually we've talked about this. At DEF CON this year, they had the shirts that this is what a hacker looks like. And
Yeah.
on engagements, we try to generally, the idea is to
Oh my God, hold on.
escalate.
Time out. If you're wearing that during a pen test and they still get got, oh my
Well,
God.
the idea is you because you want to know at what point they'll stop you.
Right.
Because it's not just about not getting caught. It's about what point is the staff going to say something.
Right.
So we were joking around about it. I was like, I really want to get one of those shirts. And then like on the day when we just really escalated, just wear this is what a hacker looks like and
Right.
and see what happens. See
Oh,
if,
you
like
know
just
what-
like a label.
You should get one of those fake pregnancy bellies. I bet
We know
you
people
could
who've done that.
get like into the vault and walk out with gold bars if you're like, I'm in labor, and they're just like,
I'm in labor.
I need a gold bar while I go to the hospital.
Instead of going to the hospital, I for some reason need to be in this safety deposit box.
Like, I kind of feel like if you were just like,
Yeah, but then they call 911 or EMS.
no,
And then
so
there's a
you
whole
can't go into
level of-
labor. So you
yeah.
can't go into
No,
labor.
yeah,
But
I'm
I'm
going
pretty
into-
sure like there's a way to
There
work,
would be
like,
ways, like-
pregnancy into like, I need to get into your vault right now.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I
could
just
have
need to
them
get
go
into
get
the
me a
safety
chair
deposit
or
box.
leave, or can I sit down in there? I'm hot and I need
Right.
to sit down. Let me
Or
sit in, wherever.
You
it is.
start weeping because your husband didn't leave the key to the safety deposit box, and
Yeah.
I really need to get in right
Oh,
now.
Yeah.
Right? Or
Yep.
something like that.
I mean, one of my least proud acts would be like if we've been working.
Remember, you can share whatever you want to share. You don't have to share everything.
Yeah.
I know, but talking on the phone around Target, and then we'll pretend to talk on the phone, and then hang up and start bawling, and say my fiance broke up with me, and try to give them a hug and sear their RFID.
What?
Whoa!
Wow, that's evil.
It's pretty bad, but
Yeah.
So you were
High five,
cloning RFID cards and stuff like that, trying to just.
I ain't hugging no
that's
bitches.
part of it. But I mean, that's
Wow, that is. Wow, that is
Yeah.
brilliant. That is brilliant.
But I mean, I feel a little bad
Why?
You should not. It's your job.
Why would you feel bad?
Right.
because I feel bad because they're
She's not a
usually like older
sociopath.
ladies who like they just want to they just
You
feel
hugging old
bad.
ladies?
Yes, I know.
Oh my God, that is. Look,
Hey man, I'm not.
I ain't hugging anybody. No, no.
I
You're
mean,
not
there's a
touching me.
distance that you have to get within
Yeah,
a certain
you have to
distance. You
get
got to
within 3
figure
feet.
out. Yeah, well, it depends
Okay.
on what antenna I have, but yeah.
I can hug you at a distance like this because I
High
still got your
five.
shit.
All right, there you go. That shows the limit of my knowledge. She's like, okay, just depends on my antenna. I'll hit you from across the room when I got my directional.
No,
You're
it's
like,
still
that lady
very-
looks suspicious. She's
It's
aiming a
still-
directional
Even
antenna
Even
at
with the
me.
better one, it's still like you have to get
That's
within
what you
like,
call. That's what you call a
close.
radio hug.
radio hug.
Do
Yeah.
you ever try
Air
to
high
hide
five.
like a directional in your sleeve so you just have to like?
That's a little harder with me because big baggy clothes it's just not as normal. Like, but I mean, I've thought about it. They actually
Wow.
at DEF CON they announced the the wireless ones now. So they don't actually need a wire. So I could actually have it in other locations, a little handbag, purse, something.
Oh, the
to be
wireless
like,
antennas. Yeah.
Well, the wireless clone the readers.
The readers, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
Chin, that's
wow,
what
you
you're supposed
blew
to be
my
looking at,
mind.
dude.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, I know. I got to look at different areas of
Crying
cool
because
shit.
your fiance broke up with you.
No.
I just want the wedding was next month.
I think I know what the episode is called. Okay, so
You literally blew my mind just now. I'm going to
But
always
see, the problem
think twice.
is now my husband, every time I start crying, he's like,
oh,
wait a second.
He's suspicious. He's suspicious.
Is she
Okay.
crying for real, or
Well,
is she pretending? Is she
okay.
playing me?
So I want to open this up a little bit to like a slightly broader discussion. And what I've seen lately on Twitter specifically is that there's kind of been a debate of information security versus hacking. Now, let me kind of back this
Yeah.
up a little bit. So, like in the early 2000s or early internet, there was that debate, like who's better, ninja or pirate, right?
Neither.
Well, okay.
Ninja or pirate?
What I'm saying is that's kind of like
that.
along the same vein. So lately on Twitter, what I've been seeing is a lot of InfoSec is not hacking and hacking is not InfoSec. They're related, but they're not the same. And I agree with this statement, and I'm kind of more on the hacker side.
There's a phrase that describes this.
Right,
in
so
my
I want
mind.
to open this
And-
up to
and-
discussion. Here we go.
Okay, I'm okay. I guess I'm just gonna check out of this discussion because I feel like this is
Son of a bitch.
well.
have
look,
something to say,
look,
and
here's
I'm
my
gonna check
phrase.
out.
This is unnecessary elaboration of irrelevant details.
What did you ask?
What
It's like,
was
what's
the
the difference
question?
between InfoSec and hackers? Like, it doesn't fucking matter, does
Oh, I
it?
feel like you were talking
I think
about
the
this the other
difference
day.
between is regular paycheck and no regular paycheck. It's like whatever.
Okay,
don't
I mean,
know.
there's that.
I mean, there are hackers who. Well, I guess regular is the key word there. Depends
No,
on
right.
how
look,
good the hackers.
I had a
and what
whole
they're
joke
selling,
about
who's-
this during B-sides, though, about like InfoSec, they're interested in words like compliance and metrics
so are
and
hackers.
KPIs. No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
Okay, hold on. The point that I was trying to make, though, is that like a hacker would just look at something and be like, I can fuck with that. That's the difference.
Okay, may I
you-
propose an idea here?
You don't think an InfoSec person would do that?
Not if it's not anything to do with compliance. I
Why
don't
not?
think.
Why not? You assume they're not curious.
That's debatable. I think it's person to person a lot of times, and maybe
You can-
what
you
I
can-
would,
you-
maybe what he would say then, or I'm not going to speak for you, but maybe you would say that the person can be a hacker in an InfoSec job, but that doesn't mean necessarily that they're.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think everybody's a hacker, and then InfoSec people are people who like report to a desk to do that.
I think a lot of kids are hackers, and then the creativity gets beaten out of them.
no,
I don't know. I mean, I do see in the InfoSec world, there are a lot of people who are good at one job. There are people who they kind of lose that wanting to learn everything because they have work to do in this one job, in this one area where they are constantly developing this one whatever.
So are you suggesting that a hacker tends to maintain their independence and their jack of all
Not
trades kind of
necessarily,
thing?
but I think to be I don't want to say a good hacker, but I would say that a lot of hackers who are good hackers have a good understanding of all areas of technology and how they
Yeah.
relate to each other. So when they find one vulnerability in one section, they can apply it to other areas
yeah, they can
then cross. It's not just like,
create a beachhead and pivot.
and I think
But you don't.
especially with looking for people to work for our company to be pen testers. It's not always the case, but there are a lot of people. It's like, well, this is what this is supposed to do. This is the box that this lives in, and they don't think outside the box always. And so it's like, and I think that's an issue with
Is
with hacking.
is that an issue because of the people, or because the people who are good at multiple things aren't allowed to apply for those jobs because of they smoke weed or other background issues or whatever?
Wait, I don't get what you. So
Like,
because they do other things.
because if we're talking about like an InfoSec person, professional that's like at a desk, rides a desk or whatever,
Right.
and because they're in one thing, because they are allowed to do that thing, because they're not a goody two shoes, but like they fit the mold and they can do those things. But like if you're outside of the scope of what people want, you won't get those jobs legally. You won't be a desk person because you won't be allowed to be.
I think I would say in America specifically, because we do have our Czech branch, or we were in Europe. The emphasis on degrees and certifications is a lot higher here in America.
That too, degrees.
And to get a
all that
degree
stuff.
does narrow down a lot of things. And when you get a degree, it does put emphasis on
focus.
specialization and focus.
The higher the degree, the more focused you are in
The
that
more
specific discipline. And that's the thing. It's like a lot of people, good hackers, don't want to be tied down to
Yeah.
one thing.
I gotta say, I have met phenomenal hackers that are both PhD computer scientists and dirtbags. Like hacker. I call them hobo hackers. They're just constantly moving. They sleep on people's couches. Like I've met them all. Right. I don't think there's any way to classify them. Although I think employability.
Okay, hold on. I'm digging myself a grave here. How would you classify me?
You're a hobo hacker.
I'm a hobo hacker?
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
Oh, thank you, guys. Fuck you,
No, you're a skinny tie, blue suit. You just don't own one.
Yeah.
And I don't take, and you should not take that as an insult. That is actually showing a sign of responsibility and willingness to adhere to societal norms.
I'm going to take another sip of
whiskey.
whiskey.
But it's an admirable position. Like, look. It isn't.
But I mean,
it
I
isn't
would say
because the
that-
world needs everybody. Like, look, I promise you, the government doesn't just hire dirtbags, right? You have to
Yeah.
be able to pass a background check, and the government needs them too, right? Every company needs hackers. Every company needs hackers.
But companies only hire certain kinds of hackers.
Exactly.
And
And
they don't-
some companies
That's
hire
true.
other hackers. I mean, if you wanted to go be a defensive security guy at Facebook, it doesn't matter. Like, they hire hobo hackers.
I mean,
it's fine.
in our company, I know for a fact that we would 99 times out of 100 rather hire someone who is willing to do the job, who's curious about the job, and has that desire to learn, than someone who thinks that they know what they're doing and then has no desire to push themselves to learn more.
And I feel like because I'm assuming you work at a smaller company, you guys
Yeah.
can take those chances. Bigger
Yeah.
companies, it's all perception. They don't take those chances.
That's true.
They
Well,
say
yeah.
you either fit this mold or you don't even get.
You don't even get past the resumes
Anything,
because
yeah.
they don't see the degree. Or
Well,
they
there's
don't see
lots of compliance issues too.
Yeah.
Like if you are handling money or medical records or anything like that, there's all kinds of crazy stuff you got to pass. Right?
Yeah.
Like there's a bunch of rules that their technological professionals have to pass, right? Because eventually that organization has to fill out some stupid spreadsheet about their security, assessments and guarantees.
Mhm.
Sorry.
No,
Coming from a guy who writes spreadsheets about this kind of stuff all the time, it's like.
I get what you're
Grumble,
saying.
grumble,
and,
grumble.
and that's the thing, though. We're coming from a wide spectrum of experience, right? Like Magic Dave.
I'm actually very jealous of her.
Bizarre.
No
Darcy.
experience over here.
No, but I'm
No,
actually
that's the
jealous
thing,
of your
it's like-
freedom, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you have somebody who's been here for a long time, and then you have somebody who's been in the space for like 4 months, and then everywhere in between. So it's cool to hear this kind of banter.
I don't know, look at that beard. He's been around a while.
I've been.
It's a beard.
Old man
It's-
Beardy
it's-
McBeardy.
So when do I
It's-
need to start growing my beard?
been a rough-
I mean,
Oh,
it's like,
please don't.
It's kind of good. I
No.
like that. If you can manage that,
the
I'd be
social
impre-
engineering could go to a whole new level.
I would be impressed.
I have so many ways this can go in my head. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna.
Old man Beardy McBeardy face over here.
I'm living my best life.
Yeah, of course you are. We'd expect nothing less.
All right, so that was kind of like the main debate subject I wanted to bring up. So,
Yeah.
final thoughts on this particular thing before we.
I don't remember
Call
exactly
it-
what your question was, but I feel like they're the same thing.
Well,
they
she
can
was
be the same
interviewing her
thing.
about like her job.
I don't want to
right?
say. I don't want to say. I was talking about infosec versus hacking.
Hackers, and they
Oh,
can,
that,
they
yeah,
can be the same thing.
I think they're related. They can be the same thing. I don't think it's necessarily
All right.
that they're the
I
same
think
thing.
it's all about culture in general. Like
Let-
you could have someone that would be a great hacker, but isn't because of the culture and because of the mindset that he's been taught, and how to live. And you don't think so?
I totally agree with you, but my thought is, does the distinction even matter? Right? I'm sorry to go meta on everybody.
That's what I.
But like
that's-
this goes back to what I said initially, which is this is unnecessary elaboration of irrelevant details. I don't think it matters. I think it's more of like, how do you? I mean, it is 2019. How do you identify yourself? Right? Like, do you put a suit on and call yourself an infosec professional, or do you have
Depends
torn
what
up
my end goal
dreams?
is and who
torn
I'm
up,
trying to
yeah.
social
Torn up
engineer.
dreams. Wow, that was a Freudian slip.
Well, yeah, I was
You
gonna
have
say,
torn
how-
up.
Where'd that come from?
Torn up dreams.
Jeans. Jeans.
I know. He's in torn up
His
dreams.
His dreams are going down.
Kind of dealing with a few things here. Do you have torn
Aw.
up jeans and you don't like to be in one place for very long and you don't want to have a regular paycheck? Like it kind of is just what fits. But I think what unites us all is that like insatiable curiosity, the drive to understand something, and to like misuse and abuse it. It doesn't matter if you put a suit on or not.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if you get paid on a regular basis or not. I think we're all kind of the same thing, which is why, to get back to my conclusion, does the distinction even matter? I feel like Twitter just likes to fight with itself all the time.
Community
Sure
might.
story.
Yeah.
So the answer is delete your fucking Twitter account and do something productive.
Wow.
What?
I don't know where that fucking came from.
No, legitimately.
All right, so Community Mike has been kind of quiet, but here he is.
So the distinction is important to understand the opposing force. So if you are attempting to engage with that threat vector, you want to understand the methodology that they're going to generally take. So if you want to go up against an OPSEC person, they're generally compliance oriented. They go down checklists. They think in a very linear, hierarchical way because that's the way they're trained and that's how they're tested.
Which is exactly why I would hire a hobo hacker to be my InfoSec professional, because they won't do that.
I agree with you. But what I'm saying is that the reason the distinction is important is that you need to hire a mix of people in order to defend against the threat. So when your opposing threat is out there, you have to get inside their decision cycle in order to beat them. And that's why these, angel on the head discussions are important.
Right.
I agree.
So you'd want to, for your defense team, for your organization, you'd want a mix of people who, rule followers and rule breakers, and force them to work together.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
And that's generally why you have blue teams and red teams. And
No, that makes
so,
sense.
The other portion of it is that you need to understand the culture. So, Western culture versus Eastern culture, the approaches that they take, give you that fundamental basis to make the correct decision as quickly as possible so you can get inside their decision cycle and beat them. Otherwise, people die,
Right.
at least in my business.
Okay, well,
This is why his hacker handle is Muffins, because he's just scary.
Muffins.
Because it always ends with,
Muffin.
and people die.
And people die. Yeah.
Okay, so let's bring that to a close. But Michelle, as somebody who's like a guest on the show, really quick and in a concise way, if possible, really quick definition of what you see as a hacker. We've always asked this question. What do you consider to be a hacker?
From my short experience in the field, I would say the key aspects that I feel like follow through what I would call different hackers is four things.
Okay, go ahead. 4 things.
Yeah, 4 things. Determination. I think that's a huge one, is if they don't give up. Creativity. Determination, creativity.
That's 2.
That's 2. I know, I can count. Thank you. I did say math was one of my things.
You're on pressure now.
I know.
I'm the one been drinking.
I mean, a little bit.
Obviously.
And then I would say that, like the wanting to learn, the desire for knowledge, desire to learn, and then last, I had this before. Like I've talked about this before.
Curiosity or something like that.
I've said. Did I not say
Well,
curiosity?
you said determination.
Creativity.
You said creativity.
Oh, then maybe curiosity. But I don't know if that's. I don't know. I think that kind of underlines all of them. But there's like these aspects that I think that I see, that people who, even people who come into the field, who we hire, who just have the desire. These are things that they all have. That they have the desire. Maybe that's it, the desire to do it, the desire to try, and they're okay with failing, and they're okay with learning over and over. They want to learn. They want to learn more over and over. It's just not enough to have one answer. They're curious. They're determined. They are creative. They don't want to just see the box as a box. They want to see what can be put on the box or under the box, or the box can be turned, or whatever the case may be.
I was
Pretty
going to
chain concise is what I was.
Well, but notice, I want you guys to kind of notice, everybody here listening, she didn't use technical terminology at all whatsoever. I think hacking in general transcends technology. It's not, oh, here we go. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're totally right.
Okay.
I was just going to add one thing to this, which maybe signals my cynicism from being in this business for so long, but consistently the hackers I've worked with, both the people who wear suits and the people who don't, there tends to be this burning anger, like, no, I won't stay inside, Dad. Like, kind of angry at their father.
A little bit rebellious then.
Rebellion.
Well, yeah, but like it's worse.
Like you
it's
just
like a dark kernel
like
inside
the not
of a
want
lot.
to follow the rules.
No,
If you need to lash
Not only am I
out.
not going to follow the rules,
Right.
but I'm going to fuck you up for giving me the rule in the first place.
It's like you take the leader of the local biker gang, and they're also Rain Man genius, right? And what you get out of that is the best infosec / hacker you've ever worked with.
See, everybody here is a biker gang member.
Well, like, I don't know what it is, but Like I've been around hackers
with a tattoo on his arm. Muffins.
I've been around hackers for a long time, and almost inevitably, when you get them a little tipsy or you get them like you gain their confidence, there's always some dark side to them. I don't know what it is, but we all tend to be like very angry people deep down inside.
But
We got a lot of laughs from
isn't
the
that
audience.
people in general?
Maybe, but
I mean,
it seems
I don't
to
know.
be
You get people drinking. They're
maybe
gonna
I
hear
only
some
care about
woes.
hackers. Like I only care to
Oh.
get to know hackers. Maybe so my
You're not a hacker. Get the fuck out.
well, like I just don't dig if they're not somebody I find interesting. So like maybe that's a biased position. Like I've only really had hackers as close friends, right? To the point where I would open up to them and try to be friends with them. So I don't know. Maybe that's an entirely biased position, but I've always felt that a lot of hackers tend to be kind of broken a little bit in some way or another. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, it's just it's
No,
right. It's a human condition.
I could kind of see
But
that,
they
actually.
tend to all be uniformly genius, and the way they manifest their anger is to like, I'm gonna break into some computer
Have you
system.
met me?
I think that, I mean, I don't know. I think there is something to that in the sense that when there's trouble in someone's life or some hardship or something, that usually it has two effects. It brings out something better in them
Yeah.
or it destroys them. You know, that's just the fundamental
Or both.
thing.
They break in and torch
or
the
that.
place and get a paycheck
Yeah.
at the same time, right? I mean,
Yeah.
We
like-
got a chuckle in the audience and a thumbs up. This is great.
Yeah.
I think.
I don't know. It's just my like, I got a little whiskey in me tonight, and I'm kind of cynical about this. But I don't have to. I don't have anything bad to say about hackers. I mean, I love hackers. They're the people I like to hang out with. But yeah, it's kind of sad. People tend to
But
be
is
angry.
it sad? I mean, I look back at things that happened in my life that were horrible, but they made me a stronger, better person, made me respond to things differently. I mean,
And they make you fake cry
and
and
they
hug
make me
people.
fake hurt people.
You
exactly.
sociopath.
Do you think
You're terrible.
Well,
But that's how I can fake cries. I can connect to these emotional problems.
do you think you're stronger than you were 4 months ago then? Like a stronger individual?
Definitely. I mean, in general, I think everybody should be focusing. If my life wasn't, if I feel like I wasn't stronger, then I feel like I'm doing something wrong in my life.
Winning at hacking does wonders for your confidence. I've
Agreed.
known that. Yeah.
Doxy?
What were you
I
saying?
got nothing.
I thought you were going to say something.
It's not,
He
it's not,
looks
it's not
like
a
it.
psychology show. We're not going to get into
No,
it.
no, what?
no, I wanna know what you're
I want to
thinking.
know.
Oh.
Well,
You're
I was
not
gonna
allowed
say-
to not say anything.
What'd you say? You said you're better and stronger, so it's not sad. Would it be sad if you weren't better and stronger, if you went the
Yes.
opposite direction?
Yes.
So then, why is it bad for other people to be sad about it?
I didn't say it was. Did I? I thought he said it was.
I think,
Well,
I think that was my
look-
implication for what you had said.
Look,
Yeah.
I have a bit of a bleeding heart, and I care about people who are,
Yeah.
who are sad and angry for
Like-
some reason. You're just a sociopath, and you don't really care.
So
It's fine.
the way I
love
view
you.
it is
I
I
love you
care
anyway.
about people so much that I want to see something good come from what happened to them.
Okay, now I have a question. Do you look at somebody like as your mark?
Yeah.
You're looking at the person as a mark, and
Oh,
you're
gosh.
like, I know I'm going to fuck you.
Oh,
like,
gosh.
not like literally, but I'm saying like, I know I'm going to screw you over with this pen test.
Yeah, you
So I'm
stopped
gonna-
at the wrong part of that sentence. I am going to fuck you.
No. Let me clarify. Let me clarify. So you're about to go on this pen test, right? And you're looking at your mark, and you're like, I'm gonna mess with you, and that's what's gonna make me cry because I'm a bleeding heart, and I feel for you because you're
No,
about to get screwed.
I don't use their pain as my motivation
Okay,
to
that's
cry.
my question.
That gets deep and twisted.
That's my question.
You
But
should
maybe
write a
I
script.
should. Maybe I should.
Maybe Tarantino will make that
I
movie.
gave her an idea. It was
But
great.
then, wouldn't it be better? I could feel better about my crying because I'm crying for them. I don't know.
It's all for you.
Cry for me,
It is always for
my
you.
hacking target.
All right. All right, so let's go ahead and bring this to a close. Now, usually, for people who've been listening for a long time, we usually do the lightning round. But as you've kind of noticed in the past month or two, the lightning round is the same thing. There's a WordPress thing. There's a thing about a hacker going to jail for X amount of months for whatever. He's paying, child support to the government. He's paying fees for fines of crimes that he's committed. I mean, that's pretty much what, sadly, the lightning round headlines are. So
We're revamping it.
Yes.
How are we changing?
we're not.
We will unveil it when it's revamped. We can't tell
Oh,
you
so
yet.
they're in the process of revamping.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. It's the same thing pretty much every week, though. It's the new vulnerability.
I think we should just find like ridiculous tweets or something.
Ooh, let's work on that.
That
I
sounds
kind of
fun,
like that
yeah.
idea.
That's
Like
not a bad
or like
idea.
hacker fights on Twitter.
Oh, there's several of that.
Right,
Of
exactly.
those,
We already got into one, the InfoSec versus hackers thing, which is totally irrelevant. But
I know,
like,
but that seems to be a big thing. But
fine.
you're right.
Like we
No,
can
no, I'm
comment,
saying you're right.
We could comment on this, the ridiculousness of hacker fights on Twitter. It's kind of like bum fights, but with computers.
It depends if they're InfoSec or not. It's fun.
Your opinion doesn't matter because you're on the other side.
Do we get to do Team InfoSec versus Team Hacker, where we have to like identify
Red team versus blue team.
Right, we have to identify the Twitter troll and like assign them to a red team
yeah.
versus blue team, and we have to figure out who wins.
Oh, that'd be fun.
That's-
Let's work on this.
Or
I'm
classify the
spitballing
tweet.
here.
Did this come from a red team or
Yeah.
a blue team?
Let's turn this into a
Right.
drinking game. This is going to be great.
Oh,
right,
good.
and so you're
Yeah.
trying to see, are they being straightforward or is this ironic and trying to
Yeah.
manipulate you?
Yeah, good question.
Hmm.
So we have stuff
Exactly.
stuff in the works here. So anyway, this does bring us to a close. We have run out of time, but never out of shit to say. So join us again next week. We are here like every Friday night.
I want to shout out to Mike Lauder.
The fuck?
It's
Who's
okay.
that?
It's my buddy.
All right, cool. Shout out. All right. You should
Sorry, I
tell
didn't mean
me.
to interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
Hey, Chen, I want to do a shout out to my buddy Mike Lauder.
Cool. Hi, Mr. Lauder.
He was watching us on YouTube.
Oh, cool. All right. I don't know. I just wasn't expecting that. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, we are here every Friday night, 7:30 p.m. at the Sin Shop. The address is 1075 American Pacific Drive, Suite C in Henderson, Nevada. The address or the web address is sinshop.org. Remember to go to meetup.com/sinshop for the types of classes and stuff that we teach here as a hackerspace in Vegas. Or Henderson, but the Vegas Valley hackerspace. And for information on us as a podcast, go to Greynoise, GREYNOI.se. Remember, we don't talk shit about Sweden, so we can keep using that domain. That's the rule.
And our website is down.
Shut up. Don't tell them that yet. Check in about 24 hours when I fix it. Anyway. Oh, yeah, there we go. My name is Master Chen.
This is Doxy.
Bizarro Doxy.
Michelle, thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, you're welcome, and
Anytime.
it was great. It was great having you. Good night, everybody. Holy shit, we got applause.